this week. We're talking about the weird stairs in the trees that are showing up all over the globe and some other different structures that are kind of mysterious. So I guess the first thing is, what are these stairs? So basically, it's just sets of stairs, and they're kind of all in rural places. Doesn't really make sense. There doesn't seem to be structures of houses around them. They're just kind of out in the middle of the forest, and nobody really knows why. So they're made out of all kinds of different building materials. So I've seen some were stone, some look like they're old, some look, brand new. They're all pretty sturdy, and everybody says that they get this sort of an awful feeling around them. I don't know, did you find that too? Everybody was saying they have a heavy feeling as soon as they're around them.
Yeah, so, no, I definitely heard that too. I figured the stairs probably wouldn't have a ton of stuff, so I was letting you. I got a couple other things that are similar. So
yeah. Well, I kind of went into monoliths a little bit too, just because one came pretty close to where I live. Actually, I know exactly where it was put up, but yeah. So as far as the stairs go, people have some ideas about what they're for, what they are. People say it's a staircase to another dimension. Some people think it's for aliens. Some people say it's just buildings that have deteriorated, although again, most of them don't have, cellars or other debris around them. So
yeah,
and a lot of them have burn marks around them. So I don't know about that theory. And some are brand new looking. So some think they're an altar for satanic rituals. Some think it's the gates to hell, just all kinds of things. So who knows? But everybody did say pretty much that they get it emanates this open energy, like a portal kind of feeling where you're picking up, strange energy, doesn't feel really good. And nobody really wants to go to the top, although there have been people that go to the top and have experiences.
I've got a picture of a kid that's up on the top.
Went to the top and he's okay?
Yeah,
and I think there's probably lots of people that do go to the top, that of course there's people that have experiences to tell about. So, and they've been all over the place, like America, Germany, Brazil, Portugal, and the Philippines. Like they're all over the place, really.
Okay.
And some of them it sounds like they move around a bit, but I think so. The oldest ones that have ever been found, and I brought this one up just because this one hasn't disappeared, but it's because it looks like a ritual, like a satanic, or well, not satanic, but a ritualistic altar. Mm-hmm. So it's the Etruscan, so it's in Italy, pyramid of Omarzo. And they found it in the 1990s, but it's from the 6th or 7th century BC. So it's really old, really, really old.
And what is it called?
It's the pyramid of Omarzo.
Pyramid of Omarzo.
Yeah, Etruscans. And so they think that, they think it was like an altar. It's like a staircase that's built up. It looks like there's something down the side where animal blood would drain. So they're pretty certain that it was the Etruscan soothsayers. Basically, they were doing animal sacrifices or whatever at that time. So, and that's what some people believe these are now. That's why I brought that one up. But as far as these recent sighting ones, it seems mostly like 2008 or something. There's a bunch of those stories are on Reddit, right? So the first story that I could find that has sort of a lot of details is from a Reddit user called Search and Rescue Woods. And probably this is the one most people kind of know about. It's a search and rescue guy, and he would go out in the woods and he would see these stairs, and he saw them multiple times. And I guess the search and rescue, his co-workers or whatever, they're like, oh yeah, like they're common, just don't ever go up them, like, do not ever go near them or whatever, but it's a common sight to see them. And then there's another Reddit user called Jeep Dave, and he found one in West Virginia, and he went right up to it. It was really sturdy. He couldn't even really shake it. He didn't go up it. But he couldn't find any evidence of a house around. Like he went right up. There was no evidence of debris or house or whatever.
Well,
And then
even if
there was,
it burnt down, you'd have like nails or something, right?
right,
Doorknobs and yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and there's like no evidence that there is just the stairs, and they're pretty sturdy and they're pretty good looking too. So again, if there's a fire or some sort of, you know, explosion or disaster or whatever, you're gonna have other debris around. So, and then another Reddit user called Taylor Shazam, she found one. She was out hiking with her cousins in Michigan, and they were exploring. And one of the cousins actually went right up to it. Most of them stayed back because, again, they had that heavy, yucky feeling. And the cousin who went right up to it, he was trying to see. It was very sturdy. He was trying to see how it was like supported, and there was no really way. There was no support beams or anything. It was just stairs, and it was really sturdy. So it's, you know, really strange. And none of the grass was growing around it like a burn mark. And that's kind of common with them too, is it seems like there's burn marks around them. So that's where people think of aliens, I think. They come up with that. So most of them are, they're free of vegetation or, you know, animals, or they're well maintained, basically. Like they're free and clear of everything. Some of them are old looking with old stone. Some are brick, some are like wood structures. They seem to have kind of no rhyme or reason of what they actually look like, but they're always like maintained stairs. It's not like trees growing over them, anything like that. So,
Yeah.
and some are made of iron. So, you know, there's no consistent way of they look of the materials that they've been used, but they're never bumped up against trees. They're kind of in a little clearing by themselves, and there's never any sort of other structure looking things that they could be. And one thing I found interesting, they're almost always, I didn't know this, they're almost always in an area where someone has disappeared, like a person's gone missing, a hiker or something.
Huh.
So whether that's just to make stories better, but that is, yeah. And that was all from travelmagazine.net, if anybody wants to look that up. And they're always, you know, several miles away from the towns. And so they're not in a densely populated area, and they're not butted up against like crops or anything like that. It's usually heavily treed places. So also not where pranksters would really drag us out of stairs to set it up for hopes or anything. It's kind of like it would be a pain to do it, or, you know, get it through all the trees like that. So in the 1940s, there was a guy who he described finding them around the same time, like, well, shortly after Roswell.
Uh-huh.
So he described finding one, and this article did not say names, so this is kind of hearsay, but this man, he found multiple. They were kind of popping up all around him shortly after Roswell, and they were finding a bunch of mutilated animals at that time, and they found a few of these staircases. So it seemed, and they actually seemed to move around the staircases. They'd go and it could be moved, kind of thing. So, again, that lends to like the alien thing, right?
Yeah, what do you think? You think it's alien or interdimensional, or we're in a simulation?
God, that's a good question. I don't know about these things because, you know, if everybody's describing it's like an open energy, that feels like going into a different dimension, kind of, right? Although, like, I don't know what it would feel like to, you know, be around alien scared. I don't know. So yeah, what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, they pop up everywhere. I could see like back in the 1800s, if you were going to move across country, I know they would burn their houses down so they could come and collect all the nails, because nails were so expensive, but not for all of them. You know, like here, I got a couple pictures of them.
Yeah.
That first one is super weird because it's move us there. See how it's got this thing in the back?
Yeah.
Like, why they're not only stairs to nowhere, but the doorway is blocked. Like,
yeah, exactly. So that wouldn't be out of an old house, right?
yeah, no, I doubt that. And some of them are wood too, so you know they would burn as well. I mean,
and some of them are really modern and some are old. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's from houses. I really don't. out of
Yeah,
all the
like this
options.
wouldn't be, right? And unless
Yeah.
there was like a ladder or something, like this was a staircase up to a ladder. I don't know why you would have
Why would
stairs
you
like
do
this.
that? That's crazy. To have a ladder at the top of a staircase is very dangerous, even back in the day when there was no building codes.
Well, maybe this could, I guess, there's a river back there. This could actually be like some sort of sightseeing
Right.
staircase. Like maybe there's some stuff back there and you're like bird watching or
Bird
something.
watching or something, I guess. Yeah. But I mean,
But
that's pretty, big and clunky looking if you're trying to hide from nature and bird watch. Like, I don't
this
know.
is
It's kind of weird.
this one, these are concrete as well. And the kids sort of up there, you
See,
know.
that looks more like it could be from a house. That's the house is
Yeah.
just gone, but
And these aren't pristine, right? Like these have tree
Yeah.
branches and crap all over 'em, moss growing on them. It'd still be crazy to find.
it would be so, and especially if you're, feeling some feelings of some sort there, like, yeah.
Yeah. And then some of them like this is obviously just like on a trail.
For a walking trail, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you can find the pictures, but some of them look pretty creepy. That's for sure.
Well, the ones that are like, straight up, and then there literally is, you're not, there's no rhyme or reason, and they're quite steep and they're going to nowhere. That's kind of weird. So,
Yeah. Did you
I don't
find
know.
any that were close to your house?
No,
Like-
not stairs, not the stairs. The Monolith, there was one that was close to Calgary, which I know.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah.
But I mean, you find fireplaces out in the middle of the woods too. I mean, that makes more sense, right?
You
That would have
do,
been-
but generally you will see like the foundation still.
Mhm.
Like when you find a fireplace, usually you can see some remnants of the house, right? The house
Yeah.
itself, even if there's a fire. So it's really strange that there's nothing else, unless it's just grown over and they're not looking very hard,
Yeah.
It's like that last picture with that kid on those. I mean, it's not been disturbed, so nobody's been digging around to try and see if there's a house around there or not.
Yeah. And they were kind of small, but I mean, well, that could have been just like a staircase up to a raised house, I guess.
Up to the front door is what that looks like to me. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But some of them, I mean, they've got the spiral iron ones. They've got like the wooden ones you said that
Yeah.
aren't supported by anything.
Yeah, there are some that's like the spiral iron ones that look like they're off like a lighthouse or something, like big sets.
Yeah.
And there was a guy in the Philippines, I thought this was funny. He got fired from his job as a forester. I have to wonder. This is like such a good excuse, but anyways, he found a set of these stairs and he went to the top because there was a dog, I guess, that was aggressive and he's like running away from the dog. And he ran up to the top of the stairs to get away from the dog. And when he came back down the stairs a few minutes later to him, 5 years had passed and he had been fired from his job and it was 5 years later. So I'm like, did he just like want to quit his job and get away? I don't know, but it's again that time thing we were talking about that last time, how time is different in different dimensions and stuff, like with the fae.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of had to laugh. I'm like, oh, well, possibly, but that's that's interesting. Anyways, and then in Sweden, 2 guys went up, and one guy felt a creepy cold hand touch him, and he turned around, and his buddy was like too far away, couldn't be touching him. And a woman went up to the top by herself, and she immediately died. She had an aneurysm and just died. So.
Damn.
Again, these stories are all a man, a woman, so I don't know. But
Well,
they're good stories.
yeah, I tried to investigate the back rooms like we were talking about last week, that people were saying that goes to the back rooms. And that seems more like just some creepy pasta thing,
Right.
clip out. And
Yeah.
I guess it got leaked to 4chan, or it got published on 4chan 2 months before a video game for the back rooms
Right.
was uploaded. So they were trying to build some hype, but
Yeah.
there was a pretty cool video. It was like a found footage, and I think it was recorded recently, but they made it look like it was recorded in 1996. But I mean, it was a 16-year-old kid that recorded it, and it's pretty damn good. It's worth
I
a
mean,
watch.
yeah, that's actually pretty cool that people are, you know, even if they're faking it or whatever. But yeah, some of the it's a long way from the Frogman photo.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's got some talent there, even if it's a ripoff.
Well, it's just so hard now to find out what is, because you go down these paths and then you realize,
Yeah.
oh, I've been listening to nonsense for the past 3 hours, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's one thing if a person will put their actual name to a story, but when it's just like this man, this person, that's, you know, tales probably. But I got a kick out of the guy being missing for 5 years. I think he just wanted to get away from his life and took a vacation, and that's what he said. That was the story.
Yeah, I wonder how many people believe him, you know, in his
Yeah.
personal life. That would be quite the fishing trip.
Yeah. And so that's about all I had for the stairs. And then I kind of went into the monoliths. I don't know, did you look at that at all, or
The what?
have you
Oh, the monoliths?
Yeah, so those big steel mirrored structures that are going up and down all over the place.
I saw the one in I watched some news stories on the one for Utah.
Yeah, I think that
And
was the first one. Yeah.
they're like, when I first heard about it, before I had actually watched the news broadcast, I thought they were huge structures, but they're like
Yes.
11 feet tall. And then they had a video of the guy like putting it in his truck and
Yeah,
taking
so
off.
that's what it seems to be. It's like, but they went, I mean, it's even this. So again, it's the environmentalists keep taking credit for that, whether it's them or
Oh,
not. But it's the environmentalists that are trying to bring, you know, something attention to certain areas for whatever reason, which is really stupid because every time they put one of those up, a whole bunch of people run to see them and trample the area. So I
yeah.
don't know. But yeah, they kind of started in 2016 was the first one, but nobody really paid attention until 2020. And I don't know if people just had too much time on their hands, you know, with all
Yeah.
everything else that was going on. Environmentalists had a lot of time, but I thought the timeline was kind of cool though, because one went up in November 27th in Romania. So as soon as that one came down in Utah, it disappeared on November 27th, went up on November 27th in Romania near an ancient forest. That one, though, they said wasn't nice and clean. Like the one in Utah was just pristine, put together. This one had shitty welds on it. And then the mayor of a town close by was like, "Oh, well, I feel like we've been." So it almost sounds like he was doing it for tourism.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I don't think aliens are using shitty welds on there.
yeah, right. But then another one, it showed up. That one disappeared on December 2nd. And then another one appeared on December 2nd in Altasandro, California. I think I'm saying that right. And it was at the trailhead of Pine Mountain. And then that one was torn down by a bunch of hooligans. Basically, they tore it down and they live streamed themselves tearing this thing down and you know, whatever, cursing and all this stuff. And then right away on December 6th, there was another one that went up at the Isle of Wight. And there's actually 3 really close together. So it's kind of funny because December 6th, the Isle of Wight, that was, I think it's near a forest, I don't know. And then one in the Netherlands, which was in Kiekenberg Nature Reserve. And then on December 3rd, BC guy, I got his name actually, Bill Anderson, went for a walk and he came back and one was on his lawn. It was there.
On his lawn?
On his lawn, on his front lawn. So everything else was near nature reserves and, you know, all these natural places. And this guy, one just was on his lawn. Him and his wife went for a walk. They came back and it was there. And the neighbors didn't hear anybody constructing it. There was no, but that's very strange that one showed up on the lawn.
Yeah, no. Did he live in like a track home or?
Yeah, I don't know. But I thought it was neat how they're like going down and going up. So if this is environmentalists, and this is all over the world, right? Like they're orchestrating that's kind of cool where one goes down and it comes up the same day somewhere else.
It's all Greta Thunberg, huh?
Yeah, right. Like they have some sort of secret group going on there coordinating all the stuff. But yeah, I thought it was weird, the guy with the one on his lawn. So
I didn't know that
anyways,
they did that where they were going up and down the same day.
yeah, that's the thing I found the most interesting, because I knew people were seeing them all over, but I didn't realize it was like you could track them, how they were going. It was kind of cool, like, which makes it seem it's more interesting whether it's the environmentalists or not, or if they're just sort of taking credit. And then the last one that I want to talk about, because there's way more stories of them. But there was one near Calgary. So I've been to this place. It's a city close to me, and this one showed up, and it was at the Old Man River crossing by Highway 22. So you have to understand this area is very windy, and it was windy the day it showed up, January 12th. There was gusting winds. There was the big trucks with the tractor trailers, like the big trucks.
Yeah.
It was like tipping them over. It was really windy, and this thing wasn't really tied down or anything or anchored down, and it stood. It didn't fall down. But anyways, a little bit later, there was an environmentalist lady who came forward and claimed that one too. So
yeah, that seems a little fishy. The environmentalists taking credit for it.
So that's what I was thinking. I'm like, is it, or are they just seeing an opportunity to, jump in there and say it's them? Like you don't know, right?
Because why would putting trash in the desert like help the environment?
Right. And so the first one in Utah, in that desert, they said like it was what were biologists or whatever, they were watching bighorn sheep out there or something. And they were flying over, and so where it is it's a tricky spot to like drag all that stuff there and to erect it. Like,
yeah, it's out in Moab. They did drive a truck up to it though. I mean, it's all pretty flat. You got those arches and stuff, but you can drive there.
Okay, well that's just what one guy said. They thought maybe it's NASA, and they had all kinds of theories, but it doesn't make sense because they were getting so much attention that everybody was going there. Like the one at the Pine Mountain trailhead or whatever, it's not super safe, that trail. And so people were going there anyways, like risking. So environmentalists who want to keep people out of the woods, why are you doing this? Because people were flocking to them, right? And
yeah,
that doesn't make sense to me to do that for them, but I don't know. They're crazy too, so.
It's definitely some sort of concerted effort, though. If they're going up the same days, they're coming down.
I think that's really kind of good orchestrated, like, got the dance moves right. You got, it's, you guys are up and you got to build this thing and nobody can see you. And that's pretty cool, actually.
Are they still doing it, or is it pretty much done?
I think it's died down. I haven't heard of any recently. It seemed like 2020, like I was really, they're popping up everywhere. So. And like the stairs, it seems like the stairs stay longer, but these things are up and down and up and down. So
yeah, maybe we'll see it come back like bell bottoms.
Maybe we should go put one up on someone's lawn.
In Utah, there is this cool place. I haven't been there yet, but it's about 2 hours away from my house in the desert, like that Moab style desert.
Yeah.
There's a spring, like a hot spring, and people let all of their like aquarium fish go in it. So out in the middle of the desert, there's just all these exotic fish in this hot spring.
Which is kind of cool, but that's mean to them.
I guess they've been living there for a long time, but you got to see it because there's like thousands of these colorful fish in this little tiny hot spring, and you can swim with them. It'd be pretty cool. It
is cool, but the danger too always is if one is a dominant species and it takes over, like when Katrina went through and some snakes got loose, and now they have these like hybrid snakes all over they're kind of,
Yeah, well, that's in Florida, the Everglades. That's the problem. All those pythons. Yeah,
but it's like it's a type of snake that's not supposed to be there. And they're big and they're dominant and gross. But it's not good for the environment to introduce species like that. But yeah, that is kind of cool, I guess.
I'm gonna check it out one day. I wanted to do it this year. Yeah, man, the colorful ones.
Yeah.
They got like betas and all these red and green and orange fish in it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it would be cool to see for sure.
It'd be really cool if you didn't know it was there and you were just going through the desert. You saw a hot spring and then it was this tropical fish
Paradise,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, you got any more?
That is it. I'm tapped out for all this fun stuff.
Yeah, I only did 2 stories this week too. So I tried to look for stuff that people found, like I was gonna go with the fireplaces, and
Yeah.
there were some other things that just wouldn't make it work. But I did find in Brooklyn, people are finding some pretty crazy stuff. So when was this first one? In 2009, somebody was walking through Brooklyn's Prospect Park when they stumbled upon 15 cow tongues nailed to trees 6 foot off the ground.
Gross.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd think it was like a prank, but it happens quite frequently in Brooklyn, actually. In 2014, a woman found multiple tongues nailed to trees. This time it was in Inwood Hill Park. And then 2 years later, the paper reported that another woman found a tongue nailed to a tree that was on the sidewalk in the actual city. And it was stitched back together. So it was cut and stitched back together. But there was David Berg. He's the president of Brooklyn's Habitat Conservation Wild Metro program. And he's came across this phenomenon twice. One of the times there were over 40 tongues nailed to the trees. So he said most of the time they're going to have pictures or notes or like personal possessions of a person either sewn inside the tongue or like they're nailed with the tongue. So
is it missing people, or is it like who's the
they're cow tongues.
No, but the people, like you said, there's information of the people. Who are the people?
I don't know. It gets into it a little bit here with like the motivation behind it, but
sounds like a mob hit.
I guess it happens fairly frequently. So Elizabeth McAllister, she's a PhD. She wrote a book on the topic after noticing it in the news repetitively. And she stated that it's a self-defense prayer from the African diaspora that's supposed to stop people from gossiping or like testifying in court. But then they talked to a practicing Santerian priest, and the priest told them they weren't as much of a prayer to a deity, it was more of a warning to the living. So like if you walked out of your apartment and you were about to testify in court and you saw a tongue there, you knew to keep your mouth shut.
See, like I said, like the mob, it feels like a warning. It's like
yeah, I guess it's like a pretty popular thing in like Santerian and Voodoo, any of those Haitian, Christian mixed voodoo religion things.
So where are they getting the cow tongues? Are they
from the butcher shop?
From the butcher shop? Okay, at least they're not killing cows and there's like mutilations going on.
Well, there's actually a lady on YouTube that shows you how to do it. And that's where you run into the confusing part, like, a prayer to the African diaspora written by a white woman who has no but then the Santerian priest, like, does he really want to let you in on the secret? And if it was just like a warning of sorts, why would they be sewing pictures and like articles of your clothing or whatever inside of the tongue?
Yeah, that's interesting, actually.
Yeah. And I mean, Brooklyn's pretty friggin' populated. And they find them on the sidewalk, like as you're walking down the street, they're just nailed the trees there. You go to the park and there's 40 tongues nailed to the trees.
So can you imagine your kids like, oh, gross, finding that?
Yeah, one of the ladies was with her daughter and her young daughter, and the dog was trying to get at it. So she was having to like hold the dog back so he wouldn't rip it off.
Oh, well, just think the birds and everything would be, lunch is served. It's like a buffet, like gross. Ugh.
Well, I guess, you know, obviously you're going to need more people from like that Santerian Haitian style
Yeah.
of religion that live in your area. I had never heard about that when we were in Florida, and there were lots of people like that there. But I guess in Chicago it gets pretty frequent too, except they tie colorful ribbons around their tongues. So you get a nice decorated tongue nailed to a tree.
So I wonder if anybody, like you said, that there's the information of a person inside the tongue or whatever, has anybody interviewed any of the people whose names are on that to see if they were,
I mean,
did they have a beef with anyone? Is it voodoo stuff? What is, like, to get their take on it?
I didn't come across any of that. There's quite a few news articles, but it is mainly like,
I guess you'd probably be scared to give interviews and stuff if that's if your name's been found in a tongue for talking too much. So yeah, they probably wouldn't.
yeah, no, I mean, either way makes sense. I don't know if that curse would actually work. Obviously, there's people that, they believe it wholeheartedly and they're nailing tongues to trees.
Whether I believe in voodoo or not, if somebody's like giving you a warning like that, you're probably gonna shut up.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be gossiping.
Yeah, no, that'd be pretty crazy. Are there any weird things like that that happen where you're at?
No, I mean, there's been cattle mutilations, and that's always an alien thing, right? Where cows are found and they're cut, like precision cuts, and specific things taken and whatever. That's happened because on the prairies or whatever, but no, not like that. Yeah, that's weird.
It's weird to think that in some parts of the world that's just like a totally normal, like to them it's just something that happens.
Yeah, and that would freak me out so much if that happened in my neighborhood. I would just, because I would be picturing somebody doing some serious voodoo kind of curse stuff, and I don't know. That would freak me out.
The first one they of course had to blame on like satanic witchcraft.
Right. Yeah.
Just like the satanic panic that happened back in the 90s.
What about the cops? Did they say anything? What's their theory about it?
I didn't really get anything about the cops other than them saying they see it quite often. But it's like, seems like it's pretty contained to Brooklyn, like not
and
New
it seems
York.
Like such an odd place for this. Like that, to me, that's a weird city to even kind of see that kind of thing. But anyways,
have you ever been there?
No.
Yeah, I want to go to New York one day.
Yeah,
it's gotta be crazy.
It would be fun to, like, Christmas or New Year's Eve or whatever. That'd be pretty wild.
Oh man, one of those Macy's Day parades, that would be, I don't think I could do it. I think I'd freak out. Way too many people.
It's pretty packed, yeah. You gotta do it once in your life. You can, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, once in my life. I try to get my kids to watch the Macy's Day Parade. They don't want anything to do with it. So.
Kids don't like parade. Well, they don't, I don't know. Kids don't like parades as much as when I was a little kid. It was great, but they used to throw candy and they don't anymore. So I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. When I was a kid, you'd get the big Black Friday newspaper and watch the Macy's Day Parade and look at all the things. Now the Black Friday newspaper's like this thick. Sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess kids have better things to do nowadays.
Yeah. So have you ever heard of geoglyphs?
A little bit. I don't know that much. I've not researched it, or yeah.
Okay. So these get a little graphic. Let me. The first one I'm going to show you is the Cerna abyss giant of Dorset, England. So this thing is 180 feet long. It's not one of the biggest ones, and it's carved on the side of a hill. So where the hell? This one. That guy.
I was looking at that just the other day, yeah.
Dug out of the earth, and they filled it with chalk. It's 180 feet long. It was first discovered in 1694 And scientists believe it dates back to 700 CE. So
That's
for hundreds of
crazy.
years. And
Yeah.
they used to think that this hand had a severed head
Oh.
in it, and it's been altered over the years. But
Well, the
then,
picture I saw had people walking like they were tiny on like it was crazy how big he is actually.
well, this guy, how big do you think this dude is?
That doesn't look very big. I don't know. That's
This is 1.7 miles long. And it's
holy cow.
not the biggest one. So this one, it was first discovered by a pilot flying in the Australian bush in 1998. Trevor Wright, he was the one that discovered it. And this thing's 1.7 miles long. It's 620 acres of land total. 620 acres. And then, you know, he's holding the stick. He's got the bird head. They
Yeah.
think this could be a boomerang as well. But they think this one was created pretty recently, and nobody has ever taken credit for this. But they think the Mari Man, that's what's called. It's the Mari Man. But they think, okay, here we go. John McDougal Stewart created it. So he was an artist. He was kind of like a weirdo, stayed to himself, and he wanted to leave his mark on the earth, but he never claimed it. And then a couple years later, he died from losing a tooth in a bar fight, and he developed sepsis and died. But I mean, that's crazy. We're discovering these all over the world today still. So I mean,
Yeah.
it is possible that he was that it could have been older than that, but they, like I said, they think he built it around 1998.
How
These
would
ones,
you'd need a drone or something, right? Because I didn't, when I said it looks small, I wasn't clued in that we're looking at an aerial photo, so of course it's huge. But you would need a drone. Like, how do you know where your lines are meeting up in a picture? And how would you ever know that?
well, and that's what kind of makes sense. I know this doesn't seem very supernatural, but like, I guess in 1998, you're in the bush, maybe helicopters are cheaper, you got access to one. You could make that. You could do something like that. We had that eco world thing where everybody held hands and connected across the
I
country.
guess crop circles, right? People have done
Yeah.
that. So yeah, still it's pretty. I mean, again, it's still impressive, even if it is.
Yeah, no, that's definitely impressive. And that's, I mean, 1.7 miles. That's freaking huge.
Yeah.
But these ones are the Nazca lines, and these are in southern Peru. So the Nazca lines are estimated to date back to 500 BCE.
So how are they doing that?
That's where I think it could be some supernatural stuff.
Right.
Like, first off, they wouldn't even be able to see them. So why would you create them? It's not like they had satellite imagery or planes or like, why and how did they create these? I mean, these are just the zoomorphic ones. But these, I think, are the biggest one, and they've been finding there's over 70 zoomorphic designs. So these are not the only animal ones. A lot of them are just like straight lines and like geometric shapes and stuff.
Yeah.
But they've found 80 new geoglyphs leading up to 2020. So that's when the article was written too. God knows how many they've found just in this area too. They found 80 more. So I don't know, man. I think just like the pyramids, you know, they think that we could have moved the stones for the pyramids with some sort of vibration technology or something. Like, did they have some sort of vibrating flying machine? Or
I mean, it's possible, but again, like, why? Because like you said, nobody else is going to see them at that time. They're not flying around, they're not seeing things from space. So what is the purpose of doing that? Like the pyramids, at least there's a purpose. You can kind of see
Yeah.
why, but why would they be doing this? Who is this for? So that's really interesting.
Well, and that's I mean, one of the theories, and that seems like kind of a bullshit theory, is they're doing it, they did it to please the gods, so the gods would bring rain, which, you know, I mean, that's just like taking a shot in the dark there, but
yeah, the old rain dance. That seems pretty, that's a lot of work for that, I guess. But
with
yeah,
the
that's
naked dude, he's on the side of a hill,
yeah.
and like you could have somebody standing back and looking, and I mean, it makes sense. Like you'll see it
Yeah.
whenever you walk up to that hill, but this
Yeah.
is all on flat ground. So
Yeah,
how and
right.
why?
Because on a hill, even you could find something reflective enough to mirror it or whatever, right? But yeah, straight down and that big.
Yeah.
I mean, people can't even draw that well on paper with a pen. So to do things on that grand of a scale and actually have it all connect and make sense. And how would you check? Like, how would you know that it's good or not?
That's, I mean, like the little ant, it looked pretty good. The hummingbird looked pretty good. I know, like one of the cats, it has two tails, but it's like, how the hell would you do that?
I was gonna say that looks like a cat with a stick.
The yeah, they actually brought in new dirt too. So they like dug a trench and then they filled it with a different color dirt.
So this is much different than just some kids messing around too. Like this was very intentional, took a lot of effort.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that one is one of the biggest. So those things are huge. Like the area that it encompasses is huge. So
do you think with everybody, like just regular people having drones and, you know, there's just so much more space being seen from the aerial kind of view, do you think we're going to be finding all, you know, more stairs in the wilderness and all these kinds of creepy things, you know, uncovering it all?
yeah, I think like now that everybody has cameras, you know, a lot more stuff will definitely be documented. Because before it was like, even, you know, if I had a ghost story, I would tell my friends. It's not like you and me were talking or you were talking on Facebook with hundreds and hundreds of people. Like now it's just a problem of trying to decipher what's real and what's fake.
What's in all those photos? Yeah. What do you see here? What do you see?
Yeah, I know they're doing that LiDAR crap in the Amazon though, and they're finding out that there's all these cities, like platforms or foundations and cities and walls, and I mean that's pretty interesting.
How cool would that be? How cool would that be to find like a, you know, the first person to stumble across some civilization or some town or something that nobody knew about that's been not disturbed? Would you, so here's the thing, if you found something like that, would you immediately go and report it and have the proper, you know, archaeologists come and do it properly, or would you kind of poke around in there first and see what you see?
I'd probably poke around in there first.
I would totally poke around. I know you're not supposed to, but I would be, yeah, there's because they're not letting you back in once you know.
Yeah, and if I could find like a gold coin or two, you know.
Oh no, you can't do that. That's when you get cursed. I just want to see what's in there. I think that'd be so crazy. You never get a chance like that again. Yeah, I definitely look around.
The thing with the pyramids, like, you know how those hieroglyphs, like they've lasted thousands upon thousands of years, right?
Yeah.
Do you think our like granite countertops will last that long?
Well, I don't know, because you think about like anything in the stone like that gets weathered and worn down with, you know,
Yeah.
over time. Like that's so old. So you'd think that it wouldn't be so defined anymore, you know, like that still looks like it's got very distinct lines to it. It doesn't look like it's, you know, weathered and faded out in some areas like you would expect it if it's that old.
Yeah, I don't know. I really think that we had some sort of like super civilization before.
And do you think that they had communication with like extraterrestrials, or what are you thinking?
I don't know. That part I don't know, but I think they were way more advanced than we were led on to believe. And I think they probably did have global trade and communication
And flying, because there's isn't there in the pyramids or whatever some where it looks like planes, like they're actually
yeah,
flights. So
and like
yeah,
UFOs and stuff.
yes. So maybe they did have aerial views and stuff more than we're thinking they didn't, but maybe they did.
Well, and that's something, if we think like they had gas engine planes, but let's say they had hot air balloons or
That's
something,
right.
like
Yeah.
they could have done that.
Yeah.
Like there's no telling what that Catholic Church has in their 15 miles of bookshelves.
I know. A person needs in there. They really need in there for sure.
Yeah, man, that'd be so cool because it when that Library of Alexandria burned down, they got some of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
They did. That's, I don't know. We'll never know. That's the sad part.
Well, I don't know. Maybe if we can connect and travel interdimensionally, maybe we can. Never say never.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, I don't know if I believe in, I mean, the very last thing, these hieroglyphs, is the most convincing that sort of supernatural. I think everything else, I'm not sure about the stairs, everything else though, I think is pretty much man-made.
Yeah.
Made up stories, whatever. What do you think? Are you believing any of it, or?
I don't know. The stairs are a very cool story.
They're
right?
interesting, yeah.
Yeah. And like I get suckered into, it's like hollow earth. Do I believe the earth's actually hollow?
And there's a lot of photos of them.
Yeah. Yeah, then I mean, how many of them are photoshopped too? You'd really have to dig in deep and
Yeah.
find original uploads and
Yeah. But even with just the photos, like the stories, or it's a man said this, a lady said that, buddy leaving town for 5 years, like I don't know. I would have to, I mean, yeah, I don't know. That search and rescue guy is probably the most credible witness that there is, but
yeah, that seems pretty credible. Like I'd probably believe his story.
so here, would you run up to the top if you found some?
I wouldn't. No.
Yeah, especially if you get that weird feeling. I do believe in energies and stuff, and yeah, I wouldn't be running up there just to test it out.
What do you think it would lead to?
Well, I don't know, but none of the things sound very good. It's hell, or it's
Or you die. The lady that died, was there a name for her?
No, it was a
No.
lady. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure if you dug around, I mean, there must be a record because she actually died. So you probably could find, but this particular article didn't name any of the people. So
how do you think the best way for us to do more in-depth research would be? Like, does the Library of Congress hold everyone's newspaper clippings, and can we get like a membership to that, or do you have to go to each individual newspaper that's still around?
Well, you'd think now there's got to be, now with the internet and everything, there's got to be they must be linked, right? Or you'd think.
Well, every time I click on articles, man, it's through a paywall. Like if I could just have everybody's newspaper to one subscription for $10 a month, I'd do that.
Yeah. I wonder, like, I should just go to the actual local library and see if you can do that, if you can just connect one library to all libraries for that kind of archives. Because it should be connected. It's all online now, right? Since you're not going and sitting down in the basement with that little thing twisting it. Yeah. I don't think you have to do that anymore. I'm sure they've scanned them all probably.
Yeah, the library is a good idea. They might be connected, huh?
Yeah. Well, I'll pop down to the one here and just see if, and I don't know country to country or whatever, how extensive that can be, but yeah, I'll go see, because there's got to be a better way to research, because I'm just, basically Googling, and
yeah,
you're getting the watered down version, or the people with their opinions in there a lot of the times too. So
yeah. And then YouTube, it's like, even with the stare thing, you get a lot of like content creators, like people just making
sensationalizing everything.
Yeah, and that's just what their thing is. You don't get to the immediate like some dude stumbling across, was out fishing or something,
Yeah.
no other reason to be there.
Yeah, I think, we should, I'll do that. I'll actually pop by tomorrow because I love the library anyway, so I'll see if that's interconnected or whatever, if there's, some sort of like online library that accesses all libraries. And like you said, if we have to pay a membership, that's all good.
Yeah, I mean, some of those stories from like the 30s and 50s and stuff were pretty cool too. I mean, they had some pretty crazy stories they published back then.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So speaking of research and whatever, what should we do next week?
I was wondering the same thing. I don't know. Have you heard of, you got anything
Oh
off
my.
the, are we gonna do like a cryptid or supernatural thing or?
Well, I picked this one, so it's up to you. Jeremy's not here, so it's all on you.
Yeah, I don't know. What's a freaking good one? I'd say Hollow Earth, but that's so BS. It's I don't know. I'll think about that. I should make a list of these so I can just read them off,
Yeah, put them in a hat and just draw one out every week.
Yeah. I mean, what would you do next?
I don't know. Like, I know Jeremy wants to get onto Bigfoot probably sooner or later, right? I don't know, maybe something vampires or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess vampires could be cool. That dates back pretty far. That's like wide enough where we could each have our own different research
Yeah,
for it.
yeah, I don't know. But you pick, like you pick.
Yeah, I'll come up with something, I guess. I'll just email it. We had a viewer in here. Well, I guess we have one viewer. We had two in here, but do you know what we should do? He hasn't. Oh, now we got two viewers.
Oh, perfect. They can have to say, what do you want us to talk about next week?
What's our topic next week, viewers? See if he writes in the chat room. So do you got all your work stuff squared away, or are you back?
Yeah, it just takes a little bit to get everything kind of organized and get back in the swing and start marketing and stuff, right? So
Yeah. When are you gonna be uploading your YouTube? When were you thinking?
I'd like to this week actually. I'd like to, because kind of getting out there with everything else, and I'm getting behind because now I have a few more stories to write, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, that'll be cool. You got the name picked out and everything?
Yeah, Campfire Creep Show
Oh yeah, I remember. You had us vote on
or
that.
Campfire Creep Fest, either one. Which one do you think?
I like
Creep
the
Fest?
fest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Creep Fest, I think so too, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Are you doing any type of special editing, or is it?
No, I don't know how to do any of this stuff. Are you kidding? It's just me with my camera doing a little video. They're just like short little, sitting there with some candles, and yeah, I'd like to do go to some like abandoned houses and stuff for some of them, but
Yeah.
kind of change it up, sit in the graveyard and tell a story or whatever. So we'll see.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Do you have a lot of abandoned houses by you?
There's there is, because there's a lot of farming around here, right? It's the prairies, and so you have generational farm houses, and grandma and grandpa started, and then they build a newer house, and often they'll just keep the old buildings. The original farm buildings are still standing, so there's lots. However, you're not really supposed to. Back when I was a kid, we jump fences and go tour these old abandoned houses and stuff, but you're not really supposed to do that, right? It's on somebody's private property.
Yeah.
But there are a few that are accessible. You can just, it's kind of open to the public or whatever. It's not, you're not jumping a fence or anything. So yeah, there's some. I love going through old houses like that.
Yeah. Yeah, all the abandoned houses we had, besides that one Manson house, were all like, new houses. Somebody got busted for drugs or something. Those ones were always fun because then they would have all the stuff, like it was just their house.
Yeah.
Like totally
Well, the Manson house would be the best. Like that's got a story behind it even. So
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Definitely a
these are all
fun
like
place
old
to.
wood structures. Like they are, run like old houses, right? You have to be careful you don't fall through if there's any basements and stuff. Like they are done.
I love watching those on like YouTube and stuff when they go through those,
Yeah.
or like the insane asylums and stuff.
Completely creepy, right? That
Yeah,
would be, yeah. Or old penitentiaries. Oh my God.
yeah. I wouldn't do it by myself. That's for sure.
Yeah, no. Yeah. So what did they say? Did they give us an idea or are we?
No, nobody gave us the idea. They bailed out. Somebody else is in here now though. But yeah, no, we're around an hour.
Okay. Well, we can wrap it up and we can figure out a topic or whatever.
Yeah, check
See
us
what
out
Jeremy wants to do.
every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. I guess we'll just go with that instead of listing them all. 9 p.m. Eastern time, we'll be live on Twitch, and then you can find us on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, TikTok, Spotify, all of them. We're out there. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
And we'll stop